It's important to start at the bottom, because starting at the bottom helps you understand how the system works, the system being the industry. And starting at the bottom can be offering up your time to be an assistant to a director, offering up your time to be a runner and an assistant in a production company, right? If I were to advise a young creative, is learn all the basics, then look at what rule can I break to give myself the point of difference.
Justice Mukheli is a South African filmmaker, photographer, and creative visionary known for blending soulful storytelling with emotional depth. Raised in Soweto, his journey began in visual art and evolved through photography and advertising into impactful filmmaking. With a sensitive, dignified lens, he draws from his heritage to spotlight overlooked narratives and inspire a new wave of creative voices across the continent.
Heavy is the head that wear the crown. When I take the crown off, I put it on ice.
Amazing, my bro. Thank you so much, bro. Thank you for making time, man. I appreciate you, bro. I've been looking forward to this for quite some time. I've always been trying to juggle between you being in Cape Town and now luckily we're here in Johannesburg. So shout out to you, bro.
Thank you.
Where I'd love to start, bro, is if, you know, as someone who is a multidisciplinary sort of creative mind, I'd love to know if you're out at a dinner party and someone in some sort of realm close to yours asks you what you do professionally. Like, what's that elevator pitch? What's that answer that you have?
Damn, first of all, it's near impossible to find me in a dinner party. If it is a dinner party, it'll probably be with people I work with. So that question might not happen. But if it were to happen, or when it has happened, bro, I'm straightforward. It depends on where I am. But my base as a creative, I'm a filmmaker. Then everything else is in service of my craft as a filmmaker. Being a painter is in service of me being a filmmaker. Being a photographer also in service of being a filmmaker, a musician, and all sorts of creative stuff feed my medium as a filmmaker.
I love that. So that's like the umbrella, and then everything else sort of feeds into that. I love that, bro.
Yeah, because film is super interesting, man. I'm so grateful for that medium. I never thought I'd be a filmmaker, but when it happened to me, it was so refreshing because I encountered something that has everything in it. Within film, I can be a painter because you work with color, you work with composition. Color and composition exists. It's one of the core principles of photography. So within film, I'm a photographer. Within film, I'm a musician because music is one of the key components or elements in film.
Yes.
You can have a dirty visual or not a great 100%. Cinematic visual, but if the audio is not good.
Bro, I could not agree with you more. You know, I feel like, and I'm so new into the editing world and video, and I feel like I have this advantage knowing how to use like music programs and knowing how to edit music. Gives you such an advantage in editing video. Because you understand timing a lot better. You understand moments, you understand sound design and how important like a transition can make two clips work together. How important like the audio of like two people speaking can, you can trick your eyes, but you can't trick your ears, you know what I mean? So I love that you touched on that.
That's the biggest giveaway of a good product in film. If the audio is terrible, you lose your audience. But if the visuals are not great, but the audio is great, you will still have your audience.
Spot on, bro.
So
spot on.
Even this conversation, if the audio doesn't audio well.
Bro, I had an episode with someone, Kabelo, and on his episode, like I accidentally left it in SNQ, like in slow motion.
Okay.
And so it didn't get his audio. I was obviously able to fix the video and speed it up, but just the fact that one mic caught both conversations, and I tried every AI software, everything, every engineer, I called everyone I knew, and it didn't work out. We had to reshoot it. So I 100% agree. So tell me, bro, now film. Now, one day we're watching the movie on your life, you know, and the movie of yourself, your brother, the people you work with creatively, or, you know, it's the autobiography. We're reading the story of your life.
Yeah.
How do you envision? I like film because you're gonna tell us. Yeah. How does the opening shot look, bro? What's the Netflix logo goes, and then what's the first thing we see?
Damn, that's amazing. We're in a bedroom in Soweto. It's dark. I think it's maybe 7:30, and there's an elder gentleman sitting on the bed, on the edge of the bed, with his feet in a bucket with warm water, and two young boys, maybe 10, 8, rubbing his knees, and is in pain and is sweating. And we are speaking life and affirmation to him that everything is going to be okay and this too shall pass. And he's expressing to us gratitude and concern for the following day because he might not make it. And that's my dad. And we did that for him maybe from when I was 5 to when I was 12. He was sickly. And that was our daily ritual to help him with his pain in his knees, in his hips, but we'd rub his knees because he was in pain. So if I were to have a biography, I think that would be the opening.
Wow, bro. That's so powerful, man.
Yeah.
I saw the shot, bro.
Sure.
I can see it, bro. That's incredible, bro.
It's emotional. It makes me feel, takes me back because that was a huge part of how I connected with him.
Yes.
Yeah, he's still around.
What did he do professionally?
He was a truck driver.
Truck driver.
Yeah, for Transnet or Sportnet.
Crazy.
Yeah, it was Sportnet. Then they changed the name to Transnet when in '94.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's crazy you say that. My granddad also struggled with his knees so much. He was also a truck driver, crazy enough.
Damn.
So I relate to your story, bro. It's just
cool.
like, you know, my brother now would also like, and my mom would rub his knees. And
yeah. Interesting.
So what would you say is like the first time, bro, you came across, whether it's a medium or it was, what was the first thing that grabbed your attention, would you say, as a kid? It's a 2-part question. The first part is, what's the first thing that grabbed your attention, whether it be art, whether it be something visual you saw or wanted to recreate? And then the second part of the question is, what is the first thing you created? Like, what was the first, whether it's an image you drew or, you know?
The first thing that caught my attention was we were listening to jazz with my dad on a weekend, sitting around on a table like this, and he collected vinyls, and we were listening to Blue Train.
Wow.
Definitely, I was 7. My twin brother and I were 7. We were in primary school, and we sat beside my dad, and he made a drawing of the 3 of us sitting beside him. He'd made a drawing of the scene, holding a cassette tape.
That's crazy.
Of what we were
drew you guys in that moment.
In that moment.
Wow, bro.
And that's the only time I saw him draw.
Wow.
But when I was 7, when I looked at it, it looked like us. Then I remember in that moment thinking, my dad can draw. I can draw better than everyone at school. And that Monday, we had an assignment in our class to draw trees. And I drew a cactus. And my recollection of the cactus I drew, it was perfect. And I remember my classmates asking my brother and I to draw for them. And that's what made my brother and I an artists.
Crazy, bro. So it was that sort of affirmation that you guys could do it. It's like seeing it that it's in our blood. If our dad can do it, we can do it.
Everything that I've become, or that became my artistic interest happened that way.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I remember listening. My dad was so into music. He wasn't a musician, but listening to music with him sparked the interest for my brother and I to get into music. So my brother and I started making music, and we were making mixtapes with the advantage of we've got an incredible memory bank of incredible jazz music that my dad put us on. And we had all those vinyls and a huge collection of them. So when we made music, when we started making music, we were sampling all the stuff we grew up listening to as kids. Then we are athletes, and that was sparked through my dad. You know, he used to race us when we were young and allowed us to be faster than him.
Crazy.
So
man.
that made me think, I'm going to be faster than everyone. Then at school, my twin brother and I were faster than everyone by a long shot. Like no one could get close, you know. So yeah, I think obviously it has to do with genetics.
Yeah.
Also mind over matter. I think my brother and I are wired in an interesting way.
Yes.
That whatever we are interested in, we find it as it's not impossible. What we just need to do is put in the time. It's simple.
And it's incredible. It's like iron sharpens iron. You guys are like, I'm sure you're competing against each other.
Yes.
Everything you guys did.
For sure.
Did you guys at some point what was the first thing you started maybe pivoting in different directions creatively? When did that happen? Film. Yes.
I think 7 years ago, my twin brother and I and two friends we had a company called I See a Different You, and it was a production company for photography.
Yes.
And we started to take on content.
Yes.
Whilst we were working at I See a Different You, I felt so drawn into being a filmmaker because photography and content are closely related to film. And we were in an incubator program with another production company that was doing mainly film in advertising. And I was hooked. Then that's where I went into. And yeah, my focus was in that medium to build it and build myself and learn. And my brother wasn't so keen. But now he's gotten into
it as well.
Yeah.
Incredible. I think that's around the time I met you guys, bro. I was thinking this morning, I was like, yo, when was the first time I met you guys? Was that VW campaign that we all did?
Yes.
I can't remember if it was maybe that but I remember seeing you guys around, and it was like the collective. I See a Different You. And And you guys were always in suits. I remember you guys would wear like fresh suits all the time.
Yeah. Our thing was, that was a beautiful time, man. Our thing is we always want to represent ourselves visually different. I think as an individual, if you look at yourself as a brand, any brand needs to have a point of difference. And the first point of difference is what you present like. So as a collective at I See a Different You, we felt that we were 28, 26, 7, whatever. No one was wearing suits. So we rocked suits, you know. Then we thought, no, man, we must rock it in a vintage way. And we're inspired by what we saw our parents wearing and our uncles wearing in these beautiful banks of albums from our family. So, and Vuyo was quite influential in visual vision in terms of how we should dress.
Yes.
And he inspired us. Then we rocked suits, bro. Suits with sandals and cool hats. We gave it a spin. So that gave us a point of difference.
Yes. Even the hairstyle, bro, where you guys came through with the, you guys definitely stood out, man.
Yeah, as an individual and as a brand, point of difference is very important. Point of difference in any medium is important. As a lawyer, what type of lawyer are you? What makes you stand out? You know, as in, if you love fashion, it's such a huge disappointment to me when I just look at people follow trends or what everyone is doing. Like, you need to think of, okay, cool, I see this style. How can I do it in my way? We all reference, there's nothing new under the sun. But whatever you are referencing, make it your own. Like, and I See a Different You. We're not the only young people wearing suits.
Yeah.
but we thought about how can we wear suits in a way that's different. People that wore suits were sharp, like, clean cut, this and that. We had crazy hair.
Yeah.
We didn't wear brogues most of the time. We wore sandals.
Yes.
Like, who's wearing a suit with a sandal?
Yeah.
We wore ties, we wore pinstripe suits, we wore bell bottoms. We wore like skinny suits. They were not so pop at that time. If I were to wear a suit now, it's a different take. So 100%. Point of difference as a brand, as an artist, it's key.
Incredible, bro. Yeah, it's been such a sort of focal point for you guys right throughout your whole careers, which is incredible, bro. Yeah, tell me, sort of video, what was the first thing you created that the bug bit you? You were like, okay.
Yeah. So I met this incredible producer called Neil Roberts, and I met him through Lizelle, who owns Tegi TV. She was a commercials researcher. So she introduced me to him because she used our visuals a lot, and she felt I've got potential to be a filmmaker. So I met him and he said, dude, I'd love to represent you as a filmmaker. I know you're not one yet, but you strike me as someone with vision. And he supported my idea to create my first short, and I still love it to date. And the short is about this young guy from my neighborhood who was and is a boxer. His name is Warchild. And he was competing at national level without a coach. And, this guy was training in a back room in a shack in Kliptown. And bro, he was shot. Then I thought his story should be told. Then that's what I wrote and directed as a first piece. And it did well for me. It got me into the industry. And I think it was fresh. I still love it to date. And I shot it with a friend of mine, Devin Tuseli. Incredible cinematographer.
I know Devin.
Yeah, incredible cinematographer. I'm actually dying to work with him again. Should be soon.
Isn't he in Cape Town?
He is in Cape Town. Ex-Joburg. Yeah.
Crazy,
great guy.
Man.
Great eye.
Yes.
Great human. Yeah.
Yes. Oh man, I have seen that short, bro.
Yeah.
I have seen that short.
Guy running through
that?
many years. It must be 8 years or something.
I have seen that short, bro.
Yeah.
Where can people see it today, bro?
I'll put it up. It should be on my Vimeo. If you Google my name and Google Justice Mukheli Vimeo, you should find it on Vimeo. But maybe I'll upload it on my Instagram again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ah, bro, it just hit me now because I remember Devin telling me about it back in the day.
Yeah, great guy.
Incredible.
I owe him.
Amazing, bro.
I think we're gonna work again, Devin, soon.
Yeah, I love that, bro. When you think of your film career, and you think of the hardest day, is there a specific shoot, a specific day on set, or a specific project that comes to mind where you think whether it could have been, and let's not say the hardest, either the happiest or the most difficult day? Let's go the extremes, Is there one that really, when you think of it, like it was an extreme either way?
It was. Yeah, I mean, the hardest one was, I think it was my first TV commercial, and the schedule was against us, I think we scheduled more than we could achieve. And I remember we had this last shot, which was supposed to be incredibly visual, sunset. We're at that old Johannesburg station that's in Bram.
Yes.
Where that party that Rick does,
Cotton Fest,
it was there. So we had these dancers and like incredible choreographed scene. And
it was a TV commercial, hey?
TV commercial. I forgot what it was for. Maybe it was for SAPC or something.
Yeah.
And we needed to have this wet down so that the sunset can reflect on the floor.
Yes.
And these dancers doing their thing. And we arrived there and we were late because obviously we had a lot to shoot. We got there, we were late. We had a small pocket of window left to shoot this thing.
Yes.
And when we got there, the water truck wasn't there. and fine, it arrives. Then they try to do this wet down, and they had this ridiculously small spraying thing. So as they are spraying, it was getting dry.
Oh, no, man.
Bro, I cried.
Really?
I had tears in my eyes because I'm like, damn, this thing that's supposed to carry this little film is not gonna happen. And we shot the scene, but it wasn't as beautiful as I hoped for it to be, so
Yes.
that was tough. Then my happiest was I joined the production company I work with now, Romance Films. Romance. They're amazing, based in Cape Town. And our first job was a Time Bank commercial for a friend of mine and colleague, Nkanyezi. And my producer for the job was Helena Woodfine, who's Greg Gray's producer. And she's boss, bro.
Really?
The shoot was amazing. It was epic. It was a big shoot. And it was comedy. And we had a lot of scenes. I think it was 6 commercials over 4 days. And
6 commercials? Jeez, bro. That's
6
huge.
30-seconders, I think.
Wow, that's big, bro.
But it was amazing. The experience was amazing. The creative.
How many people on set?
It was a lot. We had a lot of people. Like, our crew is big. I think between 50 and 100 people.
Oh,
so it was nice. It was amazing. But I loved what became of the job, and having joined them was such a beautiful experience for me because I could see their contribution to my growth as a filmmaker, and it felt right. It felt like, damn, I'm at the right place.
Amazing.
I'm at the right place with the right people.
And there's so much to it, right? I think of it like it's something I'm so excited to do in the future, just because I come from a music festival background and I was putting together so many different worlds. I think I'll have quite a good knack for producing, just because producing a music festival is probably somewhat similar to producing a massive show, and all these different moving parts and schedules and
for sure,
you know what I mean. And the festival, it's real time, as in when the gates open, it's showtime. In the same way when the camera starts rolling, it's showtime. Like
shoot day,
it's shoot day. Yeah, 100%.
Shoot day is showtime. Every minute is accounted.
We can't move it to tomorrow. It's like we have like a couple minutes this way, a couple minutes that way. That's all about it. So it's something I'm definitely excited to do. But I think the same way, it's so important the team you have around you, right? Because if that producer's not, like you're saying, something arrives late. As one piece falls off, it can mess the whole thing up. So when you think of, now we like manifesting into the future, are you thinking, do you have the film you're going to make that is going to be like the one? Or do you have like a bunch of ideas that you're working on? Or is there like a movie, when that one gets made, it's over, or how do you?
It's such a tricky question because we feel like the next thing you're gonna do is the biggest thing. It's the thing that's how I feel.
Yes.
I am developing a film, a feature film.
Yes.
And it's a story that's my lived experience that I observed growing up in the hood. So I'm developing that. Then alongside that, I think the film that when I'm established in time, maybe when I'm 55 or 60, that I'd like to do would be a biopic about my brother and I.
Love that.
I think that's the thing that I'll have close to me until I have all the experience.
Yes.
Then that's the film that I think will all films mean so much, but I think being able to do my own biopic will be the biggest thing for me.
Yeah. I can't imagine anything more sort of meaningful of trying to. Would you get someone to obviously act?
Yeah, of course.
You would see it in that light, less of like a documentary style, would be an actual biopic. Of
Yeah. I think it will be full on biopic.
Wow,
We'll get an actor.
Amazing.
Depending on the opportunity, maybe we find actual twins, or we find a great actor that can play both characters, my brother and I,
Dope.
So, yeah.
And if this podcast makes it into that scene, my man, listen, you hit me up, because I need to get someone fire casted as George. Okay?
It will, bro.
I love that, bro. That's so powerful, man. That's so powerful, man.
Thank you.
Tell me, let's get a little bit more technical, bro. Like, have you shot on an Ari before? Like, what's your go-to camera? Are you shooting on Venice's? Like, what's the experience between maybe a camera like we're shooting on now that you make a lot of your content with versus some of the bigger production cameras? Like, maybe you can give us a little bit of insight.
I've had the privilege of shooting with one of the most high-end cameras, like LFs, like Ari LF. I haven't shot on those Ari film cameras yet. It's gonna happen. But I have shot pretty much with like the fanciest, most hardcore, most beautiful, super expensive Ari camera.
Yes.
In New York, I shot a job in New York, and we had all the bells and whistles and lights and location. That was cool. I mean, I've shot with the same camera here at Romance. I think we shot that super fancy camera I used for the time bank job I spoke about. But also, I mean, I've shot with the smallest, cheapest, maybe even trashiest camera. But I think what's important about cameras, I get the idea of shooting with the fanciest, most expensive glass and all that stuff. I get the hype about it, but the important thing is the story. I think sometimes we think of being incredible filmmakers means you have access to the most incredible tools, and I don't think that's correct. I think you can make the most amazing work with the most smallest tool, like even your phone. I look at a film like what's that film from Brazil that's incredible?
Shot on
5D.
5D.
It was shot on the first 5D.
Yes.
But that thing still holds today.
Yeah, what was it called?
It was about a photographer.
Yes.
I'll remember the name. Shot in the favelas, but
bottom,
killer.
Yeah.
It was shot on a 5D, but also a 5D can be a tool that's inaccessible to some creatives. So I think even a cell phone can be a tool that's effective to tell a story. The most important thing to invest in is the audio, and how to work your tool. Like, you need to spend time understanding how to get the best visuals with what you have, like an iPhone, or iPhone can be inaccessible also. Maybe the most entry level Samsung, Android phone. As long as it shoots, you can tell your story. You just need to understand how to get the best out of what you have,
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, to answer your question, I have shot with all the bells and whistles. My favorite camera right now, it's the FX3. I would shoot a commercial on that, but
Crazy,
really? I think maybe our industry is stuck up that if it's not an Ari or a Venice, it's not good enough.
Wow, bro.
I think an FX3 can do as good as an Ari. You just need to understand how to use it.
Yes.
I've seen there's a film that was shot on an FX3 that's like IMAX quality. The smallest tool can achieve the most incredible thing. I do my daily content with an FX3 and cheap vintage lenses, or just a cheap lens for $5,000, $3,000, and I put through the images through Resolve. And sometimes I achieve what I wish I could achieve on my commercial work with a kick-ass DP
Really,
and
bro.
all the lights and all of this. But when I look at what I've done on an FX3 versus the fanciest Venice and fanciest glass we imported,
Really, bro.
you know, sometimes my content visually is better
Wow, bro.
to me. So
Hey, you've given me the fire, you see, bro. Because sometimes you sit there and you think, like, I haven't experienced that. I don't know what it's like to see footage that's done from an RE camera versus,
yeah,
you know, the FX3. But I completely resonate. You know, I think that's the reason I also bought that camera. I was just like, wow, this feels like, you know, it's a good balance. You can articulate an idea on here, and I have been shooting, bro. I have been shooting some stuff, and I'm just like the colors it's giving, just in general, and it just shows like just off the jump, you know, just dumping that footage, looking at it, you're like, wow, this is incredible. And then when you think of it, you're like, okay, it's the melody, it's the combination of these shots that's going to tell a great story with like what you're trying to. I think my first. What would your advice be to someone like me? Maybe I'm stepping into this realm now, you know? I'm thinking the first project I take on is maybe a music video. Could be a great way to, you know, move into something that's like 2 or 3 minute visualizer or 1.5 minute visualizer. Is that a good sort of step for me to take as like the first project?
In theory, it can be a good step, but I think it can be too far because you're going to have to find a musician that's going to believe in you creating these visuals for them that are good enough. And that means the power is not in your hands. The power is in someone saying yes. Right? You've got this. Right? You can think about what can I do with my podcast that's visually fresh.
Absolutely.
As an idea that you put out. You know, like you can think about how can I create maybe a montage out of key messages from people that you spoke to, and there's something you took from what they said, and you just say, out of the 20 people I've spoken to, how do I take those words and those moments and turn them into a visual feast? You know, there's this guy, he's an incredible filmmaker in advertising. I forget his name, but I know his surname, I think, is Lachtem. I must remember I forget his name. But that guy is boss, bro. Like when it comes to coming up with ideas like what you're trying to do as a passion project that breaks you into the visual world, bro, he took a poem that exists, and I think he created an AI voice, or he recorded it, or he bought the poem being read by this amazing, incredible voice, and he went to a cathedral and he created these visual metaphors that accompany the poem. Bro,
beautiful,
incredible. Wow, like jaw-dropping. Imagine just visual metaphors inside a cathedral. And powerful. This voice.
Will you send me a link to it? I'll pop it for everyone to have a look at. I love that, bro. That's strong advice, bro. Yeah, it's something I want to, like with the pod, I know the sort of next couple of steps and how it's going to evolve. I'd really want to eventually send crews out into people's studios. I'd love to get... It's all just a time thing now. Like time it takes to edit one episode, you know. But within time, with a bigger team, I think it's going to be a lot more possible, you know. But I want it to be like, I even want to talk to some of the people around you in the middle of your podcast conversation. We break away to a couple of other opinions. And I think I see the vision. But in terms of like, okay, I want to tackle my first project. You know, I'd want to see it. I would never want to just like, okay, let's go shoot. You've got a nice car. I'd never do that. You know, like, okay, what's the first shot to the last shot? Let's try bring the vision to life. You know? So I love that. That's really great advice. It could be something as simple as, love the example you used, a poem or something visually striking. And what's that little 1 minute story that you want to tell that you put together? That's incredible, bro.
Yeah.
Tell me, who are the directors you love and look up to, and has that changed over time, or is it like similar people?
It changes over time, but I do have a few names. Some I'm biased. I've got my mentor, Greg Gray, who's incredible. He's an amazing.
Sounds familiar.
He's a commercials film director.
Yes.
He's been an inspiration from day one, man. Like I remember working in advertising. I was an art director, and when we'd conceptualize ideas for ads, he was the benchmark. Like, write an ad that Greg will want to shoot.
Wow.
You know?
That's cool.
So through the blessing of time and life, he became my mentor.
Wow.
And he's an owner at a production company that I work with, Romance Films. So yeah, I've got the privilege of working with them and working under him and learning from him and having a friendship with him. And that's amazing. And yeah, I mean, there are other incredible filmmakers locally and internationally. There's a filmmaker called Dumsan Phakathi. He also became a friend and a mentor. He did an incredible documentary. I should find its name, but it's about him going out to the world or the rest of Africa, finding his siblings. You know, his father had a lot of children and he didn't know all of them. So he went on this journey finding his siblings.
Incredible.
Then there are filmmakers. One that I like particularly now, inspires me. His name is Zin Tuli. He's in advertising as well. He's quite amazing, like super visual, super conceptual. I haven't had enough time with him to just get to know him properly, but he strikes me as a down-to-earth guy, and his work is just beautiful.
What has he done that sounds familiar as well?
The most recent thing I think is a KFC ad with this guy that has I think bucket, a bottomless bucket of chicken, and is traveling, I think, from where he bought it to his house, and people are trying to get, and I'm not doing the idea justice, but I found that super beautiful. It's quite amazing. He's done another one, a job about 1976, which I found quite impressive visually, like killer.
Wow, man.
So yeah, he's someone that inspires me. His journey, you know, how he's been climbing, and I love a lot of what he does. Then I'm quite inspired a lot by musicians rather than visual art, because music is also storytelling.
Absolutely.
And the one guy that stands out for me as a huge inspiration for my visual work, but as a musician, is Anatii. Yeah, Anatii is quite a beast.
Bro, he's such a genius, bro.
Yeah, that's the right word.
That guy is genuinely so special, bro. You know, he's the one guy I've spent time in studio, and I've actually he's younger than me, and I remember being in studio with him, going like, I'll never forget him making a song. I think he made something for Casper. Yeah, and I literally looked at him and I was like, bro, how come you wouldn't keep this for your album? Come on, man, we'll make plenty more of these. That was like such a lesson for me. I was like, wow, don't marry your cards. Don't marry your art. Like, this guy has made such an incredible song. And the way he just gave it away because he knew that was the right person for the song, and it became one of Casper's big songs as well, you know. And it's
just hearing that is so inspiring, and it makes sense of my idea of him. I haven't been privy of his presence and to experience his mind, but his work speaks volumes, man. He's like,
bro, he's so special, man. And I mean, back in the day, he would literally just create everything on his laptop. So he'd play the keys on the laptop, he'd play the keys on the actual laptop, and then add the drums on the laptop. He wouldn't even use a MIDI, he wouldn't even use a thing. And he's like someone that's truly something beyond the ordinary, you know?
Yeah, it's
He really
beyond our
is.
generation.
And you see him work and you see it in him, and just his taste in so many things, whether it's fashion and his visuals, and he's just the eye he has for everything. And it's so incredible because I think it's like the best of Anatii is yet to come. How exciting!
I believe that.
This guy's had such a long career already.
I
The
believe
best
that.
of him is coming. But it's crazy. Like every time I've seen him working with people, he just channels on a whole different level. He's like such a collaborative force that I know that when the right time comes, he's gonna still have his biggest moment, and that's all you can ask for in a musical career, you know?
Yeah, but also I don't know if it's about a big moment. Maybe the big moment is all of the work he's doing to
Absolutely
grow and feed other artists. But I believe that I don't think.
And I don't mean like he hasn't had a big moment. What I mean is like all you could ever ask for as a musician is like, you know, it feels like you have the next best thing you can do for you still in you. You know, I think that's the most important thing, because
I like
music's
that.
interesting, bro. Like I chat with my friends about it, because I go like, music's the one thing where you can be chipping away in studio. You can be chipping away. You can be, you know, John Mayer, for instance. You can be one of the biggest artists in the world, but there just comes a time where like your first or second album was the moment you caught. And it's like so difficult to create anything that
is at that level.
And it's like no matter how much you chip away, but I think it's this fine line of balance and knowing when, like in the beginning, you have to be super consistent all the time, but there comes a time in your music where you have to almost let people breathe a bit in between albums. This timing thing, it's this too much sonically can also like break a bit of a sonic perception with the artist. It's such a crazy medium for me, because it's like anything else, if you chip away, you're just getting so much better over time. But with music, you can capture this one. I'm sure it's somewhat similar in video as well, and some directors, you know. I do have a lot of questions when I see like Gladiator 2, and I'm like, my man, same director. What went wrong here? You know? How did you capture the first one, but the second one wasn't quite that? Why, you know?
I wonder what happened. I mean, I know as a painter, you can create like groundbreaking work. And from that same energy, when you're done, let's say you made this incredible painting that you feel so strong about, and it has incredible reaction from your audience. From that same energy, you go on and create something else, and it just becomes the poor cousin from the farms. You know, so sometimes I find in my work as a both film director and a painter, what makes the work incredible is beyond my control. I can go into a painting and I'm negotiating with it. And I allow for the painting to go where it wants to go, which is important to me. And where it ends up going can become incredible or super lukewarm. But the key thing is for me to just be attentive to where it wants to go, rather than when I've created artworks and I want to have too much control about, okay, no, and it needs to go this way. Most of the time, I don't finish the artwork. It just becomes a potential I couldn't resolve, you know. But if I let the artwork go where it wants to go and resolve, it's an incredible place, whether it's lukewarm or not. I'll give you an example. Last year, we had the blessing of my wife falling pregnant.
Yes.
After so many years dreaming and wishing for it myself. Then we fell pregnant, and I had a huge rush of creating these works. And I created all these works, lots. Like, we found out, let's say we found out in December, then in Jan, I created 20 artworks in that 1 month. Wow. Then I had an exhibition with the works. None of them were sold. and I had another show with them, and they went to art fairs and whatever, and 1 or 2 were picked up or whatever. And nothing happened to the greater majority of the work. And I felt so strong about the work.
Wow.
But the reaction about the work was not what I thought it would be.
Yes.
Bro, all those works sold out between 2 months ago and now.
Wow, bro, really?
All of last year, it's not like they were new. All of last year, they were out there, they were going to shows locally, internationally, but only 2 months ago, that's when the vision made sense.
Wow, bro, that's incredible.
Right. And I hadn't painted since most of last year I did not paint. Most of this year, I haven't even painted this year. I'm preparing to paint.
Wow,
it's been a week of preparing, and I've got a small show next week in Kliptown. I don't have the works yet, but I'm gonna have the works. So I've been preparing maybe for 2 weeks to paint. So I haven't painted in over 14, 16 months.
What a great story, bro. Yeah. And when you say you prepare to work, bro, what does that look like? Are you preparing like the room, or are you preparing
both?
The canvases?
I've been preparing the room.
Okay.
I've been preparing myself psychologically about what do I want to paint.
Yes.
I've been taking my daughter and my wife to the studio for them to be a presence that helps me with the preparation, because they took me away from the work and it was my choice that, okay, my wife is pregnant. We are going on to this journey. I want to focus there. I put all my energy on that, and my daughter arrived safe and healthy. And since she's been around for 7 months, she's turning 8 months on Tuesday.
Amazing.
And maybe on Tuesday, that's when I'm going to paint.
Amazing.
To be ready for my small show on Friday.
Epic, bro. I love that. No, I love that, man.
Sure.
It's like a lot of preparation, and in the right moment, it's, and that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I joke about it with my fiance, but I tell her like, whenever I'm editing a pod, I prep. So I open the file. Yeah. I get everything labeled, everything done. Yeah. I bring all the footage I need for the intro. I bring the audio in. The next day I do the next batch of prep, and I told her there's this like muscle that I've been training for over 30 years, where it's like we do homework the night before. And
no, that's key.
I prep everything to that moment, and when that moment comes a day or two before the episode, it's like where everything just comes together. So I love that. It's like a prep towards a moment. Bro, tell me something. Tell me about the economics, if you don't mind. If someone's listening, like, are you getting paid majority of the time as like coming in as a director? Are you getting paid for someone coming to you for a commercial? I just want someone who's listening to the podcast to have a good idea of how the economics work and how you balance financially. Is like the art still bringing in a portion? Like, how does just high level, you don't need to give us divulge any.
Being represented as a filmmaker in South Africa doesn't come most of the time with a salary. Yes. So you only make money if you go out there and pitch and win a project. Okay. Then you have your fees and profit on the project. Okay. So that's how you earn your living. Then as an artist, as a painter, my work as a painter does bring a lot of my income. Maybe they bring 50 to 40% of my income. But it's not the income I look towards. I look at as my base income that holds things down. I mean, between 2021, 2022, my fine art was what was holding it. It was my primary earning. Wow. Then I created a shift because I felt a huge need to focus on my commercial work. So a year ago, I focused on my commercial work to be my primary income. So as I work as a filmmaker, I do make an income that holds down my bottom line. Then alongside that, my paintings contribute 30-40%, sometimes 50% of my
Wow.
monthly income. Then alongside that, I've got photography as a commercial photographer and also fine art photographer. Maybe that income contributes 25%, 30% of my earnings. Sometimes I would do a big photography job that would give me, if I make 300K per annum, I can do one job that would give me 100K
Okay.
per annum. Then the 200 is between my film work and my paintings. Then I also I'm a man of many talents. So I do a lot of other things alongside, like buying and rebuilding cars. So that also contributes
Really, bro?
an income. Yeah.
Wow.
Sometimes I buy and resell watches.
Okay.
I've got a huge passion for watches. So
Incredible, bro.
I mean, they haven't been a huge part of my income because I'm just collecting.
Yes.
But when the time is right, I can,
Amazing, bro. I didn't know this
them.
about you, bro.
Yeah, my twin brother and I are jack of all trades, bro. We do
Incredible.
everything. We love. Now we're working on a furniture range with our friends,
Wow.
Umdabu. So that's gonna be up soon, maybe in 2 months. Then we're gonna have a
Incredible,
collection of available furniture.
Wow. Please let me know.
Yeah, sure.
Please
I
let me
will.
know.
Yeah. Then we also work as speakers. So yeah, you can book us to come give a talk about either our work or a life story or inspiration. We do that too.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Bro, is it true there's like this narrative around South African directors? I know you don't represent every single one of them, but
Yeah.
you're in the game, so maybe you can shed some light for us. But there's this narrative around our best directors are shooting commercials and not movies in South Africa. Is that really the case?
I'd like to agree.
Really?
I think our commercial industry definitely has sharper filmmakers, but this is based on opinion and taste. My visual taste or narrative taste of just taste in film, I find the guys that are in the commercial space sharper. I think they create work that feels more international, even though it's rooted in South Africa. Whereas the longer form space, that guys that are doing Netflix and Mzansi Magic and all that stuff, there are sharp people there. But I think sometimes they're up against a system that works a certain way and that has certain expectations. And you can do so much as an individual that needs to pay your bills. So, yeah, I think
Yes.
the commercial space has sharper visual or
I mean, some of the best in the world, right? Our
Yeah.
commercials are like, if you have a chance to travel, you see it. Like you don't
Yeah.
even need to. You don't even need to read an article about. Like you
Yeah,
really
there's-
feel it. Our commercials are like
Killer.
movies. They're killer. Yeah.
Yeah, you look at someone like Terrence Neal,
Mm-hmm.
bro, incredible. You look at someone like Z, he's amazing. That Greg, who's my mentor, is also super amazing. There's another one, Nicole Ackerman, beast,
Really.
like beast, bro. There's a guy from, what's that company? I forget, but I think his name is Bruno. He did an ad for KFC. KFC Asia.
Yes.
Yeah, bro.
Really, bro.
Like, mad. There's a guy called Lawrence Hamburger.
Is it just because the money is better there? And I mean, I'm sure a lot of these people are wanting to shoot movies, right? They are wanting to do film at the end of the day.
I don't know. If
Really?
everyone wants to make a film, but I know that the commercial budget does get you far in terms of being creative, and the structure of the production companies and how they work. I think the intention is to create incredible work where I don't know because I haven't worked in the long form space properly, but maybe the intention to make incredible work is there, but they are just up against a system. You know, a system
100%.
that wants to do work they know the audience will respond to.
Yes.
You know, I've seen other commercial film directors get opportunities with the likes of Netflix. And I don't know what they were up against, but they didn't create the level of work I've seen them create in commercials.
Yeah.
So it's hard to judge them. I look at it with empathy because I don't know what they're up against, because they're incredible filmmakers in our commercial space, but when they do Netflix stuff, I don't see it convert. So one day maybe I'll get that longer form opportunity with the likes of Netflix or whoever, and I'll see. You know, I had the opportunity to go shoot in New York, and it was quite exciting, but I was also up against the system. So I wasn't proud of the work.
Wow, really, bro. Yeah, I'm sure there's like red tape, right? And there's certain deliverables that they want. There's a certain expectation of the type of work they're trying to create. And there's such little space for your creative ideas to really flourish. They're just trying to construct what they know works, really. You know, I have a friend as well who's done something on Netflix, and similar thing. You know, he's red tape around it being an original was very difficult to navigate, you know. So I love that, bro. That's sheds a lot of light. You have a great point there.
Cool.
We can't really judge on that, you know.
You
Tell
can't,
me, bro, what does if I'm a young filmmaker and I'm listening to this podcast right now, what is the first step you would suggest I take? Or if you're speaking to, let's say, the 18, 19-year-old version of yourself that's about to step into this realm, like, what's the word of advice you would give someone stepping into this world?
Good question. I think I've got a few versions of what I can advise, and I'll speak to all of them. It's important to start at the bottom, because starting at the bottom helps you understand how the system works, the system being the industry. And starting at the bottom can be offering up your time to be an assistant to a director, offering up your time to be a runner and an assistant in a production company, right? If you have the privilege to go to school, I think that also helps, because it gives you community. It might not give you the talent, but it will give you the tools to understand how to use your talent, right? Then from leaving the likes of After, Vets, and the other schools, you can offer up your time as an intern, as a mentee, to someone in the industry, to a production company, and grow up the ranks. Be a runner, bro. Don't look at it from an egotistical place that, nah, bro, I did well after I did this. Doing the dirty work helps, because it gives you community, gives you mentorship, it gives you an understanding of how the industry works. It gives you familiarity, and it makes you familiar. It makes you someone that people can recognize. You know, that, bro, there's justice, you know. Then there's also the importance of, you need to create your own projects. You need to go shoot. You need to go fail. You need to go do the horrible work. No acclaimed artist started as an acclaimed artist. Everyone started as an amateur. I started as an amateur. I still am an amateur. I'm still learning. You know, where I work, I look at myself and I'm like, damn, how can I get to that? But I'm humble enough to say, Greg, how can I do this? Helen, how can I do this? Roseanne, is this done this way? You know, can I speak to Terrence? Can I chat to Nicole? I'm not understanding this. But when I'm presented out to the world, people think that justice is the all-knowing. I know nothing, bro. I'm tap dancing. Every project I'm dying of anxiety. I'm calling all the resources I have around me. Greg, do you have time to just go through the script with me? Do that. It helps. Some people are able to just do it on their own and grow and flourish. And that's amazing. Some people can't. I'm not a person that can just go. I lean so heavily on friendship, on mentorship, on asking the questions. I can ask you if I'm deciding to make a podcast. I'm not shy to come to you and say, bro, how do I do this? What do I need?
Absolutely.
Even if I'm met with nah, bro, I'm not, or someone is not forthcoming about information, I don't care. It's fine. There's YouTube. YouTube is a great mentor.
Oh, absolutely.
I learned so much from YouTube as a filmmaker, as a painter. I look at tutorials, bro. I look at tutorials before I go to bed, to date. I look at tutorials about storytelling and how to create a shot that speaks to the idea I want to speak to. We opened with the scene that I painted for you for my biopic, right? I'm going to go to YouTube and ask No Film School, or look at how to create the best narrative shot that is emotional, but not overbearing. What lens am I looking for in that scene? What lighting is that? Do we have one light? I imagine one light in the corner, and we are almost backlit by this light, and you see my dad backlit by this light, and the camera is moving in, and the audio, you hearing hands doing this, then you cut to a close-up of these young boys, or one of them, and he's looking up at his dad and he's emotional because his dad is telling him that I might not wake up tomorrow. Then you look at the dad and he's also super emotional. How do I tell that in a way that it's powerful? What lens can I tell that in? Is it a 50 mil? How do we get into the scene? Maybe a 24 mil, f2.6. It's not too shallow. Is it static? Is it on the hand? What would feel strong? As a young filmmaker, you need to learn those things. You need to go test it out and try. You need to save a bit of your money and buy the lens that you think is going to help, and realize that you bought a shit lens and try resell it and it's not reselling, and save money again and go get another lens. As a young filmmaker or artist, you need to invest in your own tools. You can't just go hire everything. It becomes expensive. Go do a job, ask for a favor, get a mentor. If I was your mentor and I see how hungry you are, because I see myself in you, and you've got this idea that you want to do. I've got an FX3, I've got a set of lenses, I've got lights. I can say to you, come get this stuff and go shoot your idea, then we'll cut it together. Or go shoot it, here's the stuff, go shoot it. You come back and we say, it's not doing the thing. Actually, I'll shoot it with you. Let's go. Then I'm just there. Okay, cool. Where do you want to put your light? And I empower you. Okay, I want to put my light and look at it here. How does it make you feel? I'm not sure. Because I don't want to do the work for you. So as a young filmmaker, it's important to fail. Failure is part of the process. I remember when I was starting to shoot, I remember my mentor then, Dumsan Pagati that I spoke of. He said to me, you need to break the rules. You need to go try everything. They say never shoot looking towards the window because every image will be blown out. But shoot it so that you learn for yourself. But when I look at now, the very strong visuals are backlit.
Yeah, 100%.
Someone had to break that rule for us to see that, yes.
We just needed a good light on the subject.
I look at a photographer called Roy de Carava. bro, is incredible. He finds life in the shadows.
Wow, bro.
So, and his photography is not shooting this thing that's backlit, it's dark, and no. He finds life in the shadow. There's no backlight, there's no, and when you look at his images, they're incredible.
Wow.
He broke a rule. So you need to go on a journey of understanding how the basics work, then break the rule. I remember when we were doing I See It Different You, they said, a long lens is not good to do landscape, right? And I thought to myself, how can I make a long lens do landscape? Because I went through the journey of understanding how all those tools work, but how can I break this rule in a way that will create my visual identity?
It's like a 600 mil, or what was it? What do you mean?
It was like maybe 80 mil.
Okay.
80 mil, 85 mil. It was mainly an 85 mil, right? Then I went to go do a portrait of my brother and Vuyo in town. And I took like a photo of them beautifully framed in the 85 tight.
Mm-hmm.
Then I did a panoramic with the 85 mil. Then I took those photos home and I joined them. And they made a beautiful landscape shot with a long lens, but the aesthetic of the photo became our visual difference.
Wow.
Then I look at someone like Bradford Young.
Mm-hmm.
He's a cinematographer, and I listened to his podcast interviews, and I'm like, what makes this guy's images so interesting? And he said when he gets into a location, the first thing it does, it blacks out the ceiling.
Crazy.
And I'm like, why? Then he's like, because if there's no light bouncing from the ceiling, he has control.
Okay.
Then he lights the scene with practical lights.
Okay.
He knows that, okay, cool. If I want to do a backlit scene of this old lady getting out, have a bed and whatever, there's a side lamp here, just one side lamp.
Okay.
And it's not bouncing all over the place. Then it gives him control.
Wow.
That gave him his visual difference.
So his name was?
Bradford Young.
Bradford Young.
You must look him up. He shot Arrival.
Oh, okay.
He shot A Most Violent Year.
Wow. Okay.
I think he shot. I don't think it's Interstellar. What's the other one? Anyway, incredible filmmaker.
Wow.
Incredible. So, as if I were to advise a young creative, is learn all the basics, then look at what rule can I break to give myself the point of difference. Same as fashion.
Yeah.
Look at the likes of our amazing fashion designers that are emerging here. Tebe. He's highly influenced by where he comes from, the woman in his life, his tradition. And you see all those things come up, and he's got a global, incredible voice. He doesn't look like everyone else.
Yeah.
Whereas other designers are creating stuff that looks like everyone else's stuff.
So true.
So what is your point of difference as a human? Then you look at people that love fashion. Their worry is that, damn, I'm not on trend. That's not what you should be thinking about. You should be thinking about not being on trend, but fashionable. How can you do that?
It's powerful, bro.
So that's what has always motivated me. Like, I'm inspired by everyone. Like I said, I love Greg, I love Z, I like Zweli, I like Tebza. All these incredible filmmakers, But when I look at their work, what I look at is, where is my point of difference? What makes a justice piece? You know, as a painter, I look at my friends, my peers, my brother. There's Wandabuhle is incredible. There's Pepelo. There's Tu. There's Nelson. There's so many. But when I look at them, I'm like, where is my point of difference? You know, there's Lulama. And when you look at their work, because it's so incredibly amazing and simple, it's easy to be inspired by it, to create it. And you forget that I'm so inspired, I'm emulating someone's work. You know, but you need to think about, I'm so inspired, what is my point of difference? There's Ayanda Mapulu, who inspires me, bro. Like, he creates this incredible work. I think out of the lot, he inspired me the most. Right. But out of that inspiration, I found my point of difference. Not a young Ayanda or an Ayanda lookalike. No, you need to, you know, I love watches. You know, I look at these guys that collect watches and I'm like, damn, I like, you know, people love a Rolex. People love a Patek Philippe or Cartier and all those things. And I love those brands. But then I ask myself, in all of what I'm seeing, where can I find my niche that says justice? You know?
Which talks to your existence, your perspective, you know, how do you give your perspective in that realm? I love that, bro. That's so powerful.
So if we look at life that way, it helps. You know, definitely. Also, I'm a new dad. You know, I had a long thought about that. What would my contribution to being a father for my daughter be? You know, because fatherhood has looked a certain way for many years. What will my point of difference be? Like a meaningful contribution to the image of being a father. I want to be my daughter's best friend. I want to be obsessed. I'm obsessed with her. You know, I want to spend as much time with her as her mother, my wife, spends with her. I want to be her primary caregiver. I want to do bath time. You know, I want to read for her. I want to teach her how to swim or sing. I want her to be my visual assistant at the studio. You know, I want to do all the things that they say you shouldn't do. Because I want to do that. That's my meaningful contribution to myself and her. You know, I want to look at being a father to a daughter differently. Our big insecurity is when they grow old and start dating. You know, I want her to come to me when she's starting to date and say, Dad, there's this guy. I want to be excited about that. Because if she was a boy, I'd be excited about my son saying, there's this girl I like. You know, so where is your point of difference and meaningful contribution to the world that sets you apart? You know?
Bro, you see the world in such a beautiful lens, man.
Thank you.
I truly appreciate your mind. That's something I think about a lot as well. So to see your experience in it is just so inspiring for me. So, and something I look forward to, you know, starting a family. And so it's beautiful to get that perspective from you, bro. 2 more questions before we wrap up. The first one is, who would you say is your earliest supporter?
My mom. My mom, bro. My mom is my ace. Like, without her, all of this wasn't possible, you know, and she always injected confidence and reassurance and affirmed us directly and indirectly. You know, she believed in my twin brother and I. She believed in our vision.
Wow.
She believed in our difference and encouraged that whatever we'll choose to do will work out.
Wow.
You know, so.
And was anyone else creative in the family, bro? Is there any other uncles, aunts, anyone else painting, anyone else doing anything?
So, my parents, both my mom and dad, are artists. Not in the way that we became. I think in the time they grew up in and systematically, it took them away from being artists in a conventional way.
Wow.
You know, if my mom was born in this generation, my generation, she could have been an incredible artist in a conventional way.
Wow.
Because she's a multidisciplinary artist and mind. You know, she's got incredible business acumen, and she's got an incredible effortless touch of art. You know, she used to make these amazing jerseys, knitted jerseys that she created incredible, interesting patterns.
Wow.
Before that was even cool.
Wow.
You know,
it's in your blood, baby. It's in your blood.
Yeah,
come
so
on.
same as my dad.
Wow.
My dad is a super stylish guy. And I told you I got into drawing because of him.
Incredible.
He was naturally athletic, you know, and yeah, very handsome guy that knows how to dress for his body, that knows how to carry himself, and had a beautiful aura and a beautiful smile and charismatic. And yeah, if he was born in our generation, man, he'd be giving us a run for our money. So as my mom.
Bro. That's incredible. My last question to you, bro, is how would you like to be remembered? And, you know, if your daughter is watching this podcast, let's say in about 45, 50 years, she's tuning in and she sees it for the first time.
Yeah.
And she opens up this portion, you know?
I'd love to be remembered as that kindness has power and humility is a superpower. Because all of what I became and I've become and I'm yet to become was made happen by humility and kindness. Talent is talent, bro. But if you're cocky, there's no door that will open for you. So I'd love to be remembered as a guy that champions kindness and humility, and I live it. And if anyone can see this or watch this, you know, and you look back to connect the dots, everything that has made my life what it became is kindness and humility. Then obvious hard work, but kindness and humility is the key, bro.
That's powerful, bro. That's beautiful. And what's the message to your daughter when she's watching this in 40 years?
I love you. I'm proud of you. You inspire me. You humble me. You fixed my vision. And life is so much better. Because I never knew that I had so much other love that exists inside of me, and you brought it out of me.
That's beautiful. My brother, just to give you your flowers, you are such an incredible soul. You're such an incredible mind, bro. I could pick your brain all day, bro. And
thank you.
You best believe I'm going to be the guy calling you like, bro, the settings on the FX3 you were talking about, bro, have I got this right? You know, so shout out to you, your brother, bro. You guys have always moved with such humility, such grace. And you are just like this incredible light in our industry, man. And I'm so excited to see what you guys do in furniture. I don't doubt one day you guys are going to have an animation. One day you guys are going to do an action movie. Like everything, your take on everything and your perspective is something I think a lot of people are going to look forward to. So thank you, my brother. Thank you for making time, bro. Thank you for sharing your gems and being willing to part with the knowledge that you've gained along the path. So thank you, bro. I appreciate it. Thank you, for sure. That was amazing.
Heavy is the head that wear the crown. When I take the crown off, I put it on ice.